What's up, Degenerate Nation? Welcome to the Big Bets on Campus podcast presented by Draftkings. This is the College Football Bowl Betting Preview Part 4. I'm Stuckey, and joining me, as always, my fellow BBOC co-host, Collin Wilson, Mike Calabrese, and the one and only Josh Nunn, a.k.a. Duck. Got 8 bowl matchups to get to. We'll get to the 7 bowl games starting with Coastal Carolina, Louisiana Tech, through the first college football quarterfinal matchup between Ohio State and Miami. We will be back with part 5 on Monday, which will cover the next batch of bowls, including the 3 other college football playoff quarterfinal games. Before we get started and dive in to this beautiful slate, I'll throw to myself for a quick word from DraftKings. The Big Bets on Campus podcast is sponsored by DraftKings, and in partnership with DraftKings, our listeners get a great offer. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 back in bonus bets if your bet wins. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. You can still join in on all the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports and still have the shot to win cash prizes. To get started, use promo code BBOC when signing up with DraftKings. Again, use code BBOC when signing up and bet $5 to get $200 back in bonus bets if your bet wins. The crown is yours. All right, gentlemen, let's see. We have 8 bowls to get to, but let's quickly touch on, since we recorded a bit ago, Saturday. Colin, it looks like that Pitt ECU under came down. Who knows what ECU is going to do at quarterback? One of 3 guys could play. All over that one. Penn State just took money. There could be a snowstorm. Looks like the Bronx might get like a bunch of snow tonight, so that's worth watching.
It helps if they keep their running back group, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Can't charge.
Singleton's not going to play. I don't know how much Allen's going to play. I'm hearing that Penn State also might have a number of there's a ton of opt-outs on both sides. Might have a number of key guys only play like limited snaps, so they might opt out mid-game. So I might be looking for Clemson live there. I still don't know who's going to start at quarterback for Connecticut. I don't know. Connecticut just took some money in market. I have no idea what's going on there. Georgia Tech, BYU. I did play some Georgia Tech. I know you're on BYU, Colin,
Mhm.
but with LJ Martin out and Mo
Yeah,
out,
changes everything.
yeah, I mean they're just not the same team when they can't have that, when they can't get the running game going the same way. And I don't know how healthy Bachmeier is. Miami of Ohio, still waiting to see who's going to play, but North Texas, by the way, I bought out of my North Texas position. I mean my San Diego State position. If you follow along in the app, because I said we're going to get a better number, and
Yep.
as I am talking, it just went to 6.5 at a number of books because Mestamaker is playing. Apparently, I did anyone see this coming?
I mean, it could be the fact that you're not getting your transfer portal one-way highway to Stillwater. I mean, it literally could be it. Like I'm still auditioning for another place.
Yeah, so this thing might go to 7 plus. Where I would still look at San Diego State, but it's tough with Mestamaker playing and then Bert Emanuel can't throw. Man, that would have been such a banger. If I can't believe Mestamaker is actually playing in this game, and it looks like almost everyone in North Texas is. Virginia, Missouri holding
I,
steady. LSU,
I think that's the
Houston.
bottom, though. I wrote that up for action. I think that's the bottom because I think that was the Bo Prabula bang down to that. But if Mott Hardy plays, I think that number actually goes back up.
Yep. LSU, Houston. I'm thinking about Houston. I mean, Wegman's not good against the blitz, which isn't great, but the LSU opt-outs. I mean, Halsey now isn't playing. Delane,
Mhm.
Weeks, Perkins, Pyburn. I mean, like they have like 7 starters out on defense, and their left guard is out, a wide receiver's out. It's still Van Buren in this bad offense.
Well,
Uh,
it's like
I
I said before, half this roster, including their interim coach, is all going to Ole Miss. So how much do they care about this game?
Yeah, and this reminds me of an LSU bowl game back in 2021 when they got destroyed by Kansas State. They had a bunch of opt-outs. They had just fired Orgeron. Brian Kelly was there watching the game, and
Mhm.
LSU never got off the bus. It's going to be similar vibes here. You got the whole, I mean, the offensive staff is not coming back, and you're going to have Kiffin watching with a bunch of opt-outs, and
Some third
um,
stringers trying to get Kiffin's attention.
yeah. So, I mean, it's just weird that Houston's like favorite over LSU. They'll have a home field too, but that's the way that I would look. Before we get into these games, couple key takeaways. One of the other reasons why these small sample sizes, one of the reasons why North Texas also might be taking money, and it worries me for New Mexico, which is my favorite bowl bet um, of the entire bowl season. Does the Mountain West suck?
It's been
I mean, the
ugly.
Mountain West has been absolutely dreadful. I mean, UNLV had like 3 points for most of the game against the Ohio defense.
That tight end tackling his own running back, I've seen a lot in bowl season. That one maybe takes the cake for you got to be kidding me. Like it's not even a point shaving situation. Clearly, it's like you couldn't replicate that if you tried. Like just absolutely insane bad luck for them not to score there.
Yeah, but still, it wasn't
Oh
pretty.
no, I mean that wasn't what cost them. They just but
Yeah, but
I think it
that
was
was a hilarious bowl moment. Uh,
emblematic of their performance in general.
Duck, any key take? Does the Mountain West? Are you worried about the Mountain West and any key takeaways?
I mean, each Mountain West team has looked atrocious at points in their bowl game. Very, very fortunate to get to the window with Hawaii as we did on Christmas Eve. And even they started out 21-0 in a hole and just wasn't getting it going offensively. We've seen a lot of trends, though. First half unders have been good. We've seen these offenses come out sluggish to start, specifically with teams that are going through staff transition. You're getting replacement players in there that are just not accustomed to having a lot of time in the seat, and we're seeing the play just a notch below what you would have expected in the regular season. Situational execution has been down. Third down red zone has been poor. Coaches doing things, either mismanagement of the clock, mismanagement of the situations. Do you go for it? Do you not go for it? Has all kind of just looked a little wonky early, and that's created a lack of scoring. I think we'll see that continue. But yeah, the Mountain West has been a major, major disappointment if you back them. Even with Hawaii getting to the window, down 21-0, those guys looked like they were absolute toast until the second half.
What
I thought the
at
Hawaii
least the Holiday Bowl lived up to its expectations on Christmas Eve with the backup quarterback throwing a game-winning touchdown in the final
Do you not
seconds
love Timmy calling a throw to the end zone with the
with
backup
Luke Weaver.
one
The
play?
weave heave.
That was an amazing game. All
Art.
right, we're gonna cover the eight games that are played on three on December 30th, Tuesday, and then the five on December 31st. We'll finish off with Miami, Ohio State. But let's get things started with Coastal Carolina and Louisiana Tech. Louisiana Tech's a 9-point favorite, total 51 and a half. Coastal Carolina transfer portal. It looks like they're gonna be without both of their starting tackles, Del Grande and Hansen. And then the big question is, does their quarterback, Samari Collier, go? He missed the final two games with a knee injury. It looked like he was going to be out for the year, but apparently it wasn't as bad as it looked. So there's a chance that he maybe plays. Their offense was completely different with him than it was without him. They kind of changed their season when he came in at quarterback, then he got hurt, and then they were awful once again. Louisiana Tech, they're down to their third string quarterback. Uh, Kook. I always call him Kook. I always called him his wrong name.
You want to say Kukoc like the Bulls,
I
you
know.
know?
But he's more of a runner. I mean, Louisiana Tech has turned into. I mean, I've said this before, but Mike Leach is rolling over in his grave watching this Sonny Cumbie offense. I mean, with Trey back there at quarterback, I mean, they beat Liberty 34-28. He went 13 of 20 for 118 yards, but they ran it 54 times for 319 yards. Then they beat Missouri State. And in that game, he went 8 of 13 for 87 yards. They ran it 51 times for 388 yards. They've become like a wing T offense because Trey can't really throw the ball, but he is a really electric runner. Um, I, the most interesting angle in this game to me is it's also worth noting that Coastal Carolina fired their head coach, Tim Beck. Defensive coordinator, Jeremiah Johnson, will serve as the interim head coach. I love him. He was at La Tech last year. So a lot of familiarity, right? You have Cumbie's familiar with his scheme, and you have him being familiar with some of the La Tech offensive pieces, and uh, and not really the scheme because it's like a completely different scheme now with Trey. But he has a lot of time to prepare. I'm sure he really cares about his defense showing out here. Duck, I know that you said if Collier's a no-go, you kind of like the under, which I would agree with. I think Johnson comes up with a good game plan here. The Coastal offense is just not the same without Collier. And I mean, you have this much time to prepare for like La Tech's offense, which is so one-dimensional. I know they've been running well, but that's kind of where I would look as well. Anything to add there?
I mean, yeah, it really is all about Samari Collier. Without him, these guys were absolute turds this season on offense, and he was the straw that stirred the drink for Coastal Carolina. If you just go back and look at the film before he was inserted, Coastal Carolina could not throw the ball, couldn't hardly get a first down. And now you add in that starting offensive lineman might have entered the portal and maybe likely a no-go here. This could be major trouble for Coastal Carolina offensively. I love that you brought up Jeremiah Johnson going to be the interim here and was the DC at Louisiana Tech last season, so should be familiar with the offensive scheme and what they want to do. And with Louisiana Tech starting Trey Kukoc at quarterback, he was awful passing the ball this year. Just never looked comfortable with his time behind center. I can't imagine that either one of these offenses is going to throw the ball around a ton here. And I look at Louisiana Tech's secondary, really stout against the pass this season, 31st in pass success rate, 25th in offensive explosiveness surrendered, 12th in havoc. That could be a real issue for Coastal Carolina, being behind the chains, not
And
being
without
able to
their
run the
tackles.
ball, and without their tackles. I mean, it's just going to be major, major trouble here. Coastal was 117th in havoc allowed against them offensively. They're not going to be able to move it methodically. They're not going to be able to garner explosive plays. This is major, major trouble. Again, we've talked about this all bowl season, how you really kind of have to wait and wait and wait it out on the participation reports, sometimes as little as 15 minutes before kickoff. But if Collier's out, this is an under. This is a Coastal Carolina team total under. Louisiana Tech should run the ball and should be able to have success moving it on the ground against Coastal's defense. But if Coastal gets in the red zone, they're kicking field goals or it's fourth and go time, and it's going to be just a big problem for the Chants if Samari's a no-go.
By the way, I forgot to mention this is the Radiant Technologies Independence Bowl, and it will be in Shreveport, so a bit of a home field proximity advantage for Louisiana Tech. Calabrese, I know you're passing with the Samari uncertainty.
Yeah, I
Colin,
just wanted to mention
yeah,
this real quick. I'm not sure there's a team that can compete with how crappy their win-loss resume is with Coastal Carolina. Because if you look at the teams that they beat, none of them had winning records, including the FCS team that they defeated, Charleston Southern. And then they played five good teams. They played Virginia, ECU, Old Dominion, South Carolina, if we want to call them a good team, and James Madison. With the exception of East Carolina, they lost all those games by 40 or more points, and the ECU game, it was 38-0. So, I mean, without Collier, I think this is, I mean, I would be hard pressed to say this is a top 100 FBS team, and with that offensive line issue as well, I mean, this is why it's a stay away from me. This game could get really ugly if Collier can't play.
Colin, you like a La Tech team total here?
But
Look,
yeah, I mean, if Tad Hudson plays quarterback for Coastal Carolina, I think that actually plays into the advantage of Louisiana Tech's scoring. Louisiana Tech's defense is 10th in havoc this season. Hudson's got 5 big-time throws to 13 turnover-worthy plays. He's been sacked 14 times. He has 18 drops, which is like one of the highest rates for how many dropbacks he's had this season. Like maybe his wide receivers don't like him. Maybe maybe he's just hanging them out to dry. I don't know. But La Tech's defense ranks #1 in the nation in passes defense, 63 PBUs, 20 INTs. Tad Hudson is like chum in the water for sharks for this La Tech defense. And when you go to the other side of the ball, their offense is the La Tech is 29th in rush explosives. Coastal's 110th in allowing that. You mentioned, quarterback Trey Cook. We're gonna call him
I
Cook.
think it's
Cook
Kook
coach.
Kook is how you pronounce it,
Cook.
but it's
Yeah.
yeah.
But with running back Clay Thebanin and Amiri Wiggins, they've combined for 47 rushing gains to go for at least 10 yards. So I see plenty of ground explosives from La Tech, and I see a quarterback situation at Coastal that's going to help La Tech get some points on the board.
All right, good stuff there. Let's move on to a potentially more appetizing bowl game between Tennessee and Illinois. This is the Liberty Mutual Music City Bowl. So obviously being played in Nashville, Tennessee might have a little bit of a crowd edge here. Although I expect some Illinois fans to make the trip as well. As of right now, Tennessee is a 2.5 point favorite, total 61.5. This game's at 5:30 Eastern on ESPN on Tuesday, December 30th. This line has come down a bunch, and part of that is because of the Tennessee opt-outs. Chris Brazzell, their stud receiver, is out. Their linebacker, Arian Carter, declared for the NFL draft. He's out. Their their original starting cornerbacks have been hurt all year, but they're not going to play here. I think Joshua Josephs, their stud D end, is not going to play. Not official yet. Colton Hood, their corner, I think he's like 50-50. I think he's going to declare for the NFL draft. Miles Kitselman, their tight end, he's injured. I don't know if he's going to play. I also think their right guard, Wendell Moe, he's likely to miss with an injury. Jackson Moy, likely to miss, their defensive tackle. So this is a team that's definitely not at full strength. They also fired their defensive coordinator, Tim Banks. William Inge, their linebacker coach, will serve as interim. Illinois opt-outs, as of right now, it just looks like Gabe Akis, their stud edge rusher, and then one of their starting offensive linemen, J.C. Davis. Quarterbacks, looks like will play in Altmaier and Aguilar. Colin, I will throw it to you first. You like points here. You've been hot, by the way. Keep it rolling. In bowl season, I think you're 14-1 of your past 15. You like some points here in the Music City Bowl.
Yeah, I know it's taken some steam up to the next key after 59, really 62 and 65. So I think as we're recording this, you probably can get a 61 out there. But everything that I see in the numbers with these two's crossovers points to an over. I mean, Tennessee's outside the top 100 against the rush and in defensive finishing drives, and the Bulls they're a heavy havoc team, but the rest of the defense is pretty bad, which means they're either going to create quick scores or they're going to allow quick scores. They're second of all FBS teams. Of all FBS defenses, they are second in forcing fumbles. They've forced 17 this season. So there could be some quick change of possession here going on. Illinois is a top 25 team in standard down success rate, and the Bulls are bottom 10 on that side on defense, which means I see Illinois fast methodically getting down the field, and if there are turnovers that could, work in field position edges for Tennessee. Now, Luke Altmaier finished top 20 in on target rate, and Tennessee's defense horrific in creating a contested catch. I mean, one of the worst in the nation. So I see Illinois being very methodical, quickly getting down the field, and if they make mistakes, which we know that Luke Altmaier can do, that actually kind of plays into the advantage of Tennessee too, as far as scoring points and field position. Now, offensively for Tennessee, plenty of advantages. Top 10 is in success rate numbers with pass EPA advantages against the Illinois D. It's 111th in defense against the pass and EPA. Like they have no success against the pass. They allow too many explosives against the pass, and that just plays right into what Tennessee does on offense. Plus, the Volunteers are top 25 in quality drives and finishing drives. It's one of those things where I say it's like they're always going to get to the 40, and then they're always going to get to a touchdown once they get there. The one stat I couldn't believe, Illinois' defense, 112th in red zone scoring D. Like if you get into the 20, you're getting a touchdown. Not a lot of teams are kicking field goals against Illinois. They're getting touchdowns. So I like the over here.
The only thing I'd be worried about is Chris Brazzell, like just the loss of his explosiveness in the receiving game. That potentially could hurt. Calabrese, you like Illinois. You like Illinois with the points here?
I do. It's the Brazel factor because he was the field stretcher for them, as you mentioned. It's a big component with their offense. They need to be able to have those deep shots because it prevents the defenses from shading their coverage down, from putting people in the box to stop the run. Over 16 yards per reception from this year, 9 touchdowns. At 6'5", he was a big jump ball guy as well. And then on the other side of the football, is Tennessee going to be down 3 starters in the secondary, potentially, with an interim DC up against Luke Altmaier that finished the season 12th in QBR, carved up USC, had a solid performance against Ohio State. If Beatty plays, which I know is up in the air, I love this one even more. I'll probably switch over to the Fighting Illini money line to win outright. And I just brought this up with Coastal Carolina. Can we have a serious talk about Tennessee's 8-4 record, because I know everyone loves to say it's a gauntlet in the SEC. Any given Saturday you have to bring your best, and they went 8-4. What's their best win? Syracuse in the opener, Mississippi State in overtime. Like, I think it's at this point it's worth mentioning that Tennessee didn't beat anybody with a pulse this season. And for that reason, I think they coasted. Certainly, if they had a more difficult schedule, A&M got blasted throughout all the whole, pre-bowl lead up in terms of, yes, they were in the SEC, but they had the benefit of playing the bottom 7 teams in the conference. I think Tennessee's right there in that conversation as well. So I'm going to go with the Fighting Illini here, plus 2.5.
I would agree with you. I think this line has come way down, so I mean, I really would like a 3, but I think Illinois is the side. Duck, you're passing here. Do you got anything to add?
I mean, so much yet to be decided with the participation. I wanted to bet under, but then you look at the reports on who may not be showing up for Tennessee, and there's a lot of defenders that it might sit this one. So I don't know. Maybe wait and see here, or maybe look live, but I don't have anything actionable right now.
Okay. Let's move on to the final bowl game on Tuesday, and this is, I'll pause it. USC versus TCU. USC is now we'll call it a 6.5-point favorite. Total 55.5 at DraftKings. This game will be at 9 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday, December 30th. I was originally really looking forward to this game if everyone played. I loved TCU because I was getting word on everyone that was going to be out for USC. And then word came that Josh Hoover is out for TCU. And that means Ken Seals will start. That drop off is enormous. That also, by the way, their TCU offensive coordinator, Kendall Briers, he was hired for the same role at South Carolina. This also makes me think that, with Hoover out, there could be more opt-outs coming. Now, Dykes has said that he's optimistic that there won't be, but I mean, McAllister, their stud receiver, I don't know why he would play. Bud Clark's been banged up, so that gives me pause with TCU. And then you look at the USC side. I mean, where do we start? Here are their opt-outs. Lake McCree, their starting tight end, their stud receivers, Lane and Lemon. Those are their top 3 receivers. Their other tight end, Walker Lyons, I thought they would have probably leaned into more like 12 and 13 personnel, but they lost another tight end. Then on the defensive side, arguably their 4 best defenders opted out. Anthony Lucas, Eric Gentry, Kamari Ramsey, Bishop Fitzgerald. We've talked at length on this podcast all year about how different USC is without Ramsey and Fitzgerald, and now they won't have Lucas and Gentry either. Maeva did re-sign the quarterback for USC. He will play. There are a couple other guys who are going to be out for USC, like their right guard, their center, their left tackle, one of their defensive ends. Waymon Jordan, their stud running back, he's coming back next year. He's been hurt since week 7. I don't know if he will play in this bowl or not. So there's just so much to filter through, but I can't make sense of this now. I mean, I just don't want to play TCU with Seals, and then there's probably more opt-outs coming. So this is a complete puzzle for me. So I had TCU bought out. Not sure I'll do anything with it. Colin, you like the under here?
You're in the spin cycle here. It's one of those bull spin cycles. Like I liked one, now I like the other. Now I don't know where I'm at.
Yeah.
Let me say this before we get started. After watching Kendall Briles and KJ Jefferson go at it for years at Arkansas, I like that hire at South Carolina for Lenore Sellers. We'll get to that next year. I do like the under here. I mean, with Hoover out and Ken Seals coming in, I mean, this guy had 3 years at Vanderbilt to prove it. I think he was swapping in and out with Mike Wright. He's 28 to 43 lifetime big time throws, turnover worthy plays. The 3 years at Vanderbilt just were nothing special. Hasn't done much at TCU. 6 passing attempts this season. I mean, this is just.
How are we getting Mike Wright and Ken Seals in bowl games?
Yeah, it's amazing, right? And
what?
TCU has 0 running game. And
yeah, that's was the even bigger problem is they can't run it, and now you don't have Hoover.
heavy pass ratio. So is that what Ken Seals is going to do? Can his arm throw 40 times? I'm not really sure. And USC finished top 25 in coverage grading. And then you go to the other side. I like how in your opt-out portal tracker, you said Jade Mayeva resigns. This whole college players resigning thing is just that
Oh
to
my
me
God. Can we
is
stop with those
crazy.
announcements?
Yeah. But listen, no Makai Lemon, no Jacoby Lane, and oh yeah, no tight end Luke Lake McCree, which was also like the next end zone option. Like there's nobody else left in this receiving core that has more than 2 touchdowns. So I'm not sure what the experience is for USC. King Miller is expected to play 7 TDs on the season on the ground. He's had an electric 4.2 yards after first contact, but and TCU's defense is really good at limiting rush explosives. There's only one thing to play, and that's under. Keep pounding on that under. I know it's steaming down. 55 is going to be your last call. We're at 55 and a half as we record, and I'm not going to touch it till this podcast comes out, and I'll take that 55.
Yeah, 55 major key there as well. So yeah, I don't mind that look at above 55 going under. Calabrese, you agree there?
Yep. You basically hit all the points. I think this is going to be a King Miller offense. I think he's going to get 20 carries in this game. Obviously, his usage went up throughout the season. Also, in terms of USC, it was really the tale of two seasons in terms of their total points per game, both scored and allowed. First 7 games, they were playing in shootouts left and right, almost 66 points per game total. The last 5 games, that came down all the way to 49 points. I think a bit of it is play calling, trying to protect that defense. And if they have basically a mash unit on that side, there's no reason for them to play fast. And also in terms of the one play touchdowns, hitting Lemon on a slant and him going 75 yards for a touchdown, that's out the window here. So I think with all the offensive firepower on the sideline, working out for the NFL draft or hitting the transfer portal, I agree with Colin. This is under. I'd go all the way down to 52 and a half, 53. I think that's where the market's probably going to head by the time you listen to this.
Duck, anything you want to add?
I mean, this would be such an easier play on TCU if we had Hoover in there, but I could support the under position. You've got Lane out, you've got Makai Lemon out, you've got the tight end McCree that are out. Both
Dwyer's
starting
also
safe.
out, the receiver for TCU. He had 54 catches for 730 yards. He's also out, and I don't know if McCouch is going to play. So both receiving cores are shorthanded.
Such a stud, Dwyer, right? Came in from Idaho. Really, really good explosive receiver. A guy that was just such a safety valve for Hoover early in the season. McAllister out. Bud Clark may not play. The running back Barnes may be out. This, we could certainly support a pre-flop under here, and that would probably be the way I would look. This should be a live betting opportunity. You should know in the first 2 or 3 drives. With USC and what they wanted to do this season, did they anticipate ending up in the Alamo Bowl here in San Antonio against TCU? I would imagine TCU is motivated and ready to show up and play. I don't know if they're going to have the pieces equipped to be able to do it, but you might know in the first 2 or 3 drives if USC even cares to be there or not. So could be some live betting opportunities, even if you have to take a worse number on TCU. But there are just so many explosive weapons on both sides that are out. I would be inclined to play under.
All right, let's move on to New Year's Eve, starting noon Eastern in Tampa, Florida, at Raymond James Stadium. We have the ReliaQuest Bowl between Iowa and Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is anywhere from a 4.5 point favorite at DraftKings up to 5.5 point favorite elsewhere. Total 47.5. So I know Colin is going to fade Diego. We know that, so I'll let him get to that. But I actually would lean that way as well from a numbers perspective. Now, I don't think it's the best matchup for Iowa because the way that you want to attack this Vanderbilt defense is through the air. Their run defense is significantly better, and Iowa can't really throw the ball. So, and I think that you can just pound away at this Iowa defense a bit. They're going to limit explosives every year. They're like number 1 or 2 in limiting pass explosives. But Diego's going to extend a few plays and hit a couple there. But look at what Oregon did. I think there is a path to like just pound away at this Iowa defense a bit. They don't bring their safeties down, and Vanderbilt is capable of doing that. Additionally, Iowa usually has a huge special teams edge. Vanderbilt's special teams pretty damn good. So I don't think it's the greatest. And by the way, I am really looking forward to this bowl because, like,
They'll
Ferentz says
actually want
that
to show up. These
Yeah,
are two
both
teams
teams
that
should
want
want
to
to show
show up.
up. There's going to be minimal opt-outs on both sides. Like this is one of shaping up to be, knock on wood, one of the better bowl games. So it's not the greatest matchup, but from a pure numbers perspective, this number's too high in my opinion. I mean, I think this is disrespectful to Iowa, who was like arguably a top 15 to 20 team all year. And I mean, I think Vanderbilt, look, this is good on when Vanderbilt has the ball. This is elite on elite. And when Iowa has the ball, it's some questions versus some questions. So, and then two really good special teams units. So I think it's a decent schematic matchup for Vanderbilt for a number of reasons, but I think the number's too high. So I think you have to look at Iowa and Kirk as a dog. Colin, you would agree?
Absolutely agree. I'll be in LA on a beach watching this one because I'm going to go to the Rose Bowl. So this is going to be fantastic. Iowa has success in defending all the run concepts that Vandy wants to use, the power, the counter, the zone read. If Iowa succeeds in pushing Diego Pavia back into known passing downs, it's pretty much game over. I mean, it's just a complete mismatch because the pass rush for Iowa is seventh, and the Vandy pass blocking has been a problem all year. They're 129th. Now, I mean, Diego, of course, has escapability. But I mean, this is a very legit pass rush that they're going to run into. The
And I
Vanderbilt,
could see him forcing a couple throws, making a mistake or two.
yeah, and Iowa, we know, can capitalize on that. Defense and special teams, if there's any kind of victory here, that's what it's going to be. And it's definitely not going to be probably on Gronowski's arm, which is kind of the problem for Iowa to score some points here because the Vanderbilt weakness really is against the pass. I will say that Gronowski ended the season with three big time throws against Nebraska's defense. So maybe there is signs of life that his arm can do something instead of like shortening it 10 yards before his target. Vandy's defensive issues and third downs and tackling, they're both outside the top 100. So I'm not exactly calling for Iowa to pass the ball and be successful with it, but Vandy's so leaky on the back end and not good in third downs. That is the avenue for Iowa to take advantage. Iowa covers the number. I'm not sure they can win the game. I like Iowa to cover.
Calabrese, you like Iowa and the under. You're gonna look to combine them.
Yeah, parlay those together, anything plus 250 or better. I mean, on the Iowa side, it's a known commodity. Ferentz has, coached 23 bowl games. I know that Clark Lee had success last year. They win their game, but this is a different dynamic in the transfer portal era where how do you, keep this locker room fired up when you were right on the cusp of making the college football playoff to get so close and then to fall back to the, Relia Quest Bowl. I don't know what that attitude is going to be like. I know that their leader, Diego, has had a horrific attitude all throughout awards, season, basically telling the voters to F off. And I don't think that's a good look. Does Eli Stowers play in this game? If he shuts it down, Stuckey brought up earlier, there's some guys who just suit up, play a drive or two, and then shut it down. Does he even play at all? And then the other piece of it is Iowa was 8-4 this year. Their four losses, all to top 20 opponents. They played really well in all those games. Iowa State lose by 3, Indiana lose by 5, Oregon by 2, USC by 5, 3-0-1 against the spread in those matchups. And I think their game plan can be replicated. This is the Joe Moore award-winning offensive line, finished fourth in pass blocking, 12th in line yards, just so good. And what was really interesting is that whenever they get into the red zone, they were finishing because they could use Gronowski in the run game, whether it was powers or reads. They were top 10 in red zone scoring efficiency and 16th in red zone touchdown percentage as well. I love that in a dog. I would play this down to plus 4.5. I know that it's coming a little bit closer to 3.5, 4. It's time to grab it with the Hawkeyes. And in terms of the breakdown on what happens when Diego has the ball in his hands, I like what I see from this Iowa defense, seventh in pass rush, as Colin mentioned, and they shut everyone down in terms of explosive. So they're going to make them earn it. They played three really explosive Big Ten offenses in IU, Oregon, and USC. They held those teams combined to 21 points per game. So I think this becomes a rock fight, a 21-17 kind of game. Hopefully you get the hook going in your direction, but I also think the Hawkeyes will be live to win this one outright.
Per report, Stowers is going to opt out. So
Even
it
better.
hasn't
There
been
we go.
confirmed yet, but that would be a major loss. Duck, you're going to offer a warning to the listeners?
I mean, I don't know, guys. Are you really interested in fading Diego in his final college game?
Yes.
The problem
Yes.
here
And I
is
love Diego. I think if it was anybody but Diego, this toxic performance after the Heisman, like as somebody who's been watching college football for, 35 years, the amount of Heisman runner-ups or Heisman winners that go on that buffet circuit and then, get people and agents in their ears and then lay eggs in bowl games, there's a long list. And Diego does not seem at this point like someone who's really fired up to play in a quote unquote minor bowl game. So if he goes, then what is this Vanderbilt team? If he doesn't play really well, I have serious concerns about the Doors.
Yeah, that's where I was going with this. There's been so many distractions since the season finale. Are these guys at Vanderbilt completely locked in here? Is Diego completely locked in here? There's been a lot of traveling, a lot of flying to Vegas, the UFC fights, clubbing. Is he ready to go here? Iowa is going to be Iowa. They're going to show up with a roster who's fully involved, who's fully locked in. They love bowl games. They're going to show up and be ready to go in this one. And I could see a really fun game. Mark Gronowski in a bowl game coming up from the FCS ranks. I would actually lean over here. Vandy scored 40 points in their last 3 games of the season against Auburn, Kentucky, and Tennessee. And Iowa is going to be able to move it on these guys. Vandy was 122nd nationally in surrendering explosive rushes. 73rd in defensive success rate. I'm just not sure that Vandy is going to be equipped defensively to be able to stop the run here. And then you look at Vandy on the other side offensively, first nationally in yards per play, fourth in offensive success rate, first in red zone efficiency. Kind of think we could see some points here, guys. 47.5 is not that high of a total to be able to eclipse. It's not going to take a ton here to get over that. So TBD on that, but I think we could see some points in this one.
All right, I think with Stowers being out, allegedly, I think is massive. Like he comes up with, he won the Mackey Award for a reason, but he comes up with so many key catches on third downs and like that's who Diego looks to when he needs like a huge completion. So I think that could be a major loss. All
If
right,
he's
let's
not
go.
in there, they have to get Cole Spence. He's 6'7", 255, and he's a guy who could be a pressure relief valve for Diego. They would have to get him involved.
Yep. All right, let's move on to the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl, New Year's Eve, 2 p.m. Eastern on CBS. It's between Arizona State and Duke. Duke is a 3-point favorite here. Total is sitting at 49.5 at DraftKings. Many of you have heard this story before. I got married on New Year's Eve during the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. Just on the beach in Naples, was following along and watching, talking with the officiant. My wife was down at the beach, and I got a text like, "Where are you at? You're supposed to be getting married right now." So I had to run down with the officiant and then ask for an update on the game right after I said I do. Anyway, so this game, Colin, you want to talk about a bowl spin cycle? This was me. So I originally bet Duke -3. This is when I knew all the Arizona State opt-outs were coming and the injuries. And Kenny Dillingham was rumored to be going to potentially Michigan. And if he did, I knew that there was going to be many more opt-outs. Then Dillingham, it appears, is going to stay. And then there's rumors that Mensa might declare for the NFL draft. So I buy out. So I buy back with Duke +3. And, with Arizona State +3. Well, Mensa, stated he's coming back to Duke, so he will play. Dillingham is staying in Tempe, but Arizona State has a ton of opt-outs here. Now, Dillingham does allow players in the portal to play if they choose to do so, but here's looks like is not going to play. Their stud receiver, Jordan Tyson. Alford, one of their D-backs, but he's been injured since week 2. There's amazing cornerback Keith Abney, their stud running back for Lake Brown, their right tackle, their stud linebacker Keyshawn Elliott, their tight end Mateer. It looks like Dorba and Fight will play on the defensive side of the ball. Miles Rouser, Ghost, their safety, he's still TBD, declared for the NFL draft. He has been practicing. Their defensive lineman Justin Wadley, he declared for the NFL draft, but said he's still going to play. Jordan Crook declared, but it looks like he will play. So there's Clayton Smith, their defensive end. He had knee surgery. He won't play. So there's a ton missing from this Arizona State team that's going to be. And then obviously you have Sam Levitt, who entered the transfer portal, along with their starting left tackle, Josh Atkins, their cornerback, Javon Robinson. So this team is a shell of itself. At quarterback, you're going to have Jeff Sims, and it looks like Cam Dyer, the freshman, is going to get reps in the game. They've been relying on a ton of freshmen in bowl practices leading up to this game. On the Duke side, I already mentioned that Mentz is going to come back. Their starting right tackle, Brian Parker, he opted out. He's their best offensive lineman by far. Their starting cornerback, their only good defensive back, Chandler Rivers, will play in the NFL. He opted out. And then one of their better defensive ends, Vincent Anthony Jr., he opted out. Wesley Williams, their other defensive end, declared for the NFL draft, but Diaz said he expects him to play. And he says everyone else is practicing except those three who opted out. So now that I look at this game, Duke games are weird also. Like, you know that this is just going to be just some dumb. Talk about bad special teams play. There's going to be fumbles in this game. It's just, but I look at this game now. No Raleek Brown, no Jordan Tyson. You have offensive linemen missing for Arizona State, and it's going to be Jeff Sims or this freshman. You want to throw on Duke. And is Arizona State actually capable of doing that? And then you look at the Arizona State opt-outs. They could be really shorthanded in the secondary. And I think Mensa might be able to take advantage. So now I'm back to leaning Duke here, even though I have positions on both sides of three. Collin, I believe you like Arizona State.
I do.
You want to make the case?
Yeah. I can't tell you how comfortable I am with this. Look, Kenny Dillingham's 2-0 against the spread in his bowls. Manny's 0-3 against the spread in his bowls, going back to other 10 years. I mean, Manny's been a disaster in bowl games. I've had a problem backing this Duke team for a number of reasons, primarily on the defense. And yes, am I going to get stuck with Jeff Sims and Kanye Udo to show up against this atrocious Duke defense? Listen, at this point, I think almost any offensive combination in the Power Four could show up against this Duke defense. The Blue Devils are 135th in defensive pass EPA. They allow a lot of explosives. I've seen Sims stuff a box score before. Not that I have a lot of faith that he can do that twice in a row, but also Duke is 131st in defensive finishing drives. You just need to get to the 40. You're going to get some points. A lot of the defense in the front seven should be playing for Arizona State, and I think that's really the key to the game because they were 14th in defensive havoc this year. They're really good at taking the ball away, playing behind the line of scrimmage, and plus their secondary was one of the top in the nation in PBUs. I think the Sun Devils are going to dominate a Duke offense that's just 91st in line yards. So I don't see the line of scrimmage belonging to Duke. I don't see Mensa being able to throw into this secondary. I like the defense a lot more than I do having to back Sims and Udo. But I like Arizona State to get it done.
Duck, any thoughts here?
I mean, not a real strong conviction play here, but with Levitt out, Jordan Tyson not ready to go, 3 or 4 starters on the defensive side of the ball for Arizona State that have already opted out. Is this just one where more doctor's notes and more opt-outs could be coming here for the Sun Devils? I'm just not sure how this group shows up here ready to go with what their preseason goals and expectations were for Arizona State, following up the playoff participation in the Big 12 title. They were a contender in the Big 12 this season, and now you're showing up in El Paso for the Sun Bowl with Jeff Sims, and you're not equipped with some of the explosive playmakers on offense. Again, I don't have a real strong take here, but it just seems to me that Arizona State, it's a tough pill to swallow if you're going to back the Sun Devils here.
Calabrese, you're passing here.
Yeah, there's just too many unknowns. I would love to fade this Duke team that I think could very easily have cruised into 7 or 8 losses, if some of the crazy outcomes didn't go their way throughout the season. But without knowing what Arizona State's offensive identity is going to look like at all until probably halfway through the second quarter, this can only be a live bet option, nothing pregame.
All right, let's move on to our next bowl game, 3 p.m. Eastern on New Year's Eve, the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl. This will be played in Orlando, Florida, Camping World Stadium. Texas is a 8.5-point favorite, total 48.5. You can see a lot of Cheez-It commercials. I want to make it the
Are there going to be any new Cheez-It commercials?
Cheese. I don't know. That one, I never get tired of that commercial, though. This game will be 3 p.m. Eastern on ABC. I like Michigan, and I actually like the over, too. I mean, well, let me go through the news first. And I was like, wow, this could be one of the better bowl games. And then here comes all the news. Texas's defense is going to be a shell of itself. They're going to be without their two stud cornerbacks, Anthony Hill, their best linebacker, their two edge rushers, Moore and Burke, their stud safety, Michael Taff. And then elsewhere, Wisner, I mean, their entire backfield, but Wisner just hit the portal. I don't know if Gooseby or Campbell are going to opt out. As of right now, they're in, as well as tight end Jack Endries, but they're going to be without 6 or 7 starters on defense. On the Michigan, and by the way, they fired defensive coordinator Pete Kwiatkowski and hired Will Muschamp as the new DC. Michigan, obviously, all the drama with Sharon Moore. Biff Bogey will serve as the interim. I mean, you're not going to. I mean, Biff Poggi. I mean, you're not. I'm me not betting Biff Poggi in a bowl game. Come on. I mean, that was a given, especially over a touchdown. Chip Lindsey, the offensive coordinator, left to become the offensive coordinator at Missouri. Co-offensive coordinator and tight ends coach Steve Casula will be the interim. So, and then here's the opt-outs as of now for Michigan are only their edge rusher Derek Moore, their linebacker Barham, and then their left guard El Hadi. I mean, I'm not a Chip Lindsey guy, and I'm not a Sharon Moore guy. Michigan played better when Sharon Moore was suspended this year. The offense was opened up. I like them better without Moore and without Lindsey. I think Biff will have them motivated. Now, he did say when we broke for Christmas break, originally he said he doesn't expect to have any more opt-outs. Then he said in an interview that the team will probably look different. There's probably more Michigan opt-outs coming. There might be more Texas opt-outs coming. Who knows? But at over a touchdown, I have to take Michigan here. And I actually lean over with all of the Texas defensive starters that are out. Colin, you like the over as well?
Yeah, because the loss of Pete Kwiatkowski as a DC and the number of defensive players, just the corners and edges alone, like your starting corners, your starting edges, that's kind of important to locking down the defense.
And your best linebacker.
And your best line, yeah, Anthony Hill. I mean, that's it's going to be a struggle for the Longhorns on defense. I almost want to say I'm pretty sure Bryce Underwood's going to play. I mean, there hasn't been any opt-outs, there hasn't been any new. I mean, you would think that if he's switching teams or if he's going to the portal, that would be major, major news, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty confident he's going to play.
Right. So I like the over.
If not, this bet is over's cooked because they don't have any backup.
Right, right. And then you go to the other side of the ball, like Arch Manning has the advantage over the Michigan defense in terms of pass explosives. He was 10th in EPA, and Michigan's defense finished 58th in limiting pass explosives. And, it's just, I think that's the one advantage that Texas definitely has here that should be still in play. Big advantages for special teams for Texas. If you do like a side, I'm not taking a side in this one. It's going to be over all the way. But Michigan's 118th, and here's where I think more points can get on the board. Michigan's 118th in punt efficiency. What does Texas do? They eat punt teams alive with Ryan Niblett. He's taking 2 of those to the house. So I like over for a number of factors.
Duck, any thoughts here? You actually lean Michigan under, team total under?
I mean, let's just wait and see as we get closer who's showing up and who's not showing up. I just really don't want to back a team that's playing without a staff. We've already seen this manifest itself during bowl season where teams have had transition in their coaching staff and everything just looks terrible. Poor execution, choppy play calling, just horrific special teams. I really want no part of it. I assume with Biff, we're going to see Michigan run the ball here a ton. Chip Lindsey not showing up here, so who knows what we're going to get offensively. This could be a complete mess. If Underwood plays, yeah, maybe a different story, but if not, Mikey Keene, the backup, is also a no-go. So who's going to quarterback for Michigan? Is their running back Haynes? Likely a no-go here as well. Several on defense that may not go for Michigan. I could see the over and wanting to be lured into that with all of the strong performers for Texas's defense that are not going to show up here. So this is just another one where I really have to wait and see. Whenever I figure out what I'm going to do here, I'll slam that across in the app. But I kind of think that Michigan, I mean, I don't know, are they going to show up and run the ball? We know what Biff wants to do from his time at Charlotte and kind of one of those offensive line type hard-nosed coaches that just wants to run the ball, and he's headstrong on that. I think we could see
Yeah, but
some
that
of
was like
here.
Sharon Moore too. I mean, I think the offense was opened up a little bit more when Moore wasn't there. So I get that he's like of that same mold, but I actually thought the offense did a lot more creative things when it was Biff at the helm for a couple games this year.
And it
Calabrese, you
could
like,
be.
yeah. Well, I mean, I get it. He's like that, but so was Moore. Moore was like that guy to the extreme. Like there's a so
Well,
Calabrese, you like
that's
Arch to get
because
in the end
more
zone?
like more likes the heavy sets hardball ball, where Biff will go to a normal offense, right?
Yep. Calabrese, you like Arch to get in the end zone?
Yeah, his anytime touchdowns have treated me well this season. And when you're looking at their depth chart right now, if you go back to August, fourth stringer Christian Clark or fifth stringer James Simon, both freshmen, they had 64 total carries this season, just one touchdown between the two of them. Arch already has 8 rushing scores. He can create big ones on the ground like he did against A&M, scoring from 35 yards out, or be that goal to go option, in the power game, in the read option game. If you're looking for a direct comp against the Michigan defense, look what Mateer did pre-injury. Scored twice on that Michigan defense in the red zone, one on a read play, one on a quarterback power run. So I think Michigan or Manning will find the paint against Michigan here. I'd probably go up to the market hasn't popped yet. I'd probably go up to like minus 140, just to give a little bit of a feeling for where this was. It was actually plus money against A&M in the season finale. So I think all the way up to minus 130, 135, you could potentially use it as a same game parlay sweetener. But I think they're going to need him to run the football and get some of those gritty yards inside the 10. So I would say probably you're looking at over 2.5, 3.5 rushing attempts for Manning near the end zone.
All right, let's move on to the SRS Distribution Las Vegas Bowl in Allegiant Stadium. New Year's Eve, 3:30 Eastern on ESPN between Nebraska and Utah. Utah at DraftKings 15.5 point favorite, total 50.5. Utah was one of my favorite bowl plays. I bet them minus 14. Now I got to figure out if I want to buy any back because, I mean, here's the reason I like Utah and still do. Nebraska cannot stop the run for the life of them. Also, Emmett Johnson, who was their entire offense this year, he declared for the NFL draft, their star running back. He's going to be out. Their center's also going to be out. Raiola is hurt and transferred. And then, like, the only scholarship quarterback on their roster now is Latif, who was dealing with an injury. If he can't go, it's like Jalen Gramstad is the only quarterback on the roster, I think, because Davila, he hit the portal as well. But then you have all the news with Utah. So their two NFL tackles opted out. They're going to be without their stud defensive end Daly due to injury. Their other defensive end is also opting out in Lomu. So they're going to be shorthanded on both lines of scrimmage. Can they still have that same success running the ball on Nebraska? I think yes, but I don't have the same level of confidence that I did before. And then you have all this with Kyle Whittingham. I thought this was going to be like Whittingham's swan song. Everyone's going to go out, play for him in his last game. But now, like, rumors are that he's going to take the Michigan job. So I went from very confident in this bowl game. And I also don't love like laying. I wouldn't lay this price now, especially with all the news. Um, but man, the news has not broken for Utah's side. So I have to figure out if I want to come back a little bit on Nebraska. But I'd hate the matchup for the Cornhuskers. And then without Emmett Johnson, I don't know how they move the ball. But the opt-outs, the Whittingham news, this big number has me in another bowl spin cycle. Duck, you still are confident in Utah getting it done here?
Yeah, I do think so. I think that this team will show up for Kyle Whittingham, although it's not his last game in his career as a head coach. Sending him off with his Utah tenure with a win will be important for this group. It'll be fun to see Devon Dampier in a bowl game, and even with the rotation with him and Bird Ficklin, it's been really explosive offensively for Utah this season. I would imagine that the defense is able to show up and really provide the resistance. We're not going to have Raiola. We're not going to have Latif. Emmett Johnson being removed from the equation for Nebraska is a significant part of their offense, and their starting center may not go. I mean, it could be a major, major mess for Nebraska offensively, which should lead to short possessions, quick punts, short fields for Utah the other way. And I just don't think Nebraska is going to be able to do anything to stop Utah's run game. One where the Utes really shouldn't have to sweat it out offensively as far as drawing up a game plan, trying to figure out what they're going to do to move the football against Nebraska. Really should not be that complicated for Utah to just line up, run some 12 personnel, run some 22 personnel with a tight end that they can put in the backfield to block, and run the ball with Damp, with Bird Ficklin, with the running backs. I would imagine Utah would put up a pretty big point total here, even with the offensive linemen that are projected to be out. I think they'll still be fine in this game. And I just don't think Nebraska is going to be able to counter offensively to do enough to stay within this number. When you look at where they're going to have to be in the late stages of the third and fourth quarter to try to get within this number, they're probably going to have to put up 24. I just don't see it here. I think we're still okay with Utah.
Yeah, I believe Spindler, I mean, he's played center in the past. I think he played right guard for them this year. I think he's out. He declared for the NFL draft. He also has like a finger injury. Latif could play. He's been dealing with an injury. I think he might, but I mean, I'm not a huge fan of him. Colin, you like Utah, but you're looking at the team total over?
Yeah, I don't want to really worry about the defensive side. I mean, there's just no signs of. I mean, I'm more positive about the fact that Nebraska's defense stopping Devin Dampier in the Utes offense is probably chances are zero. Nebraska's outside the top 100 against the rush, outside the top 100 havoc. They don't create any pass rush whatsoever. And I mean, I know Utah's going to be fielding reserves at the tackle position, but the edge position for Corn has just not been anything worth mentioning. They're not going to be able to get pressure even on some backups that have like 200. I think one of them has 200 snaps. I think another one has like 70. Huge discrepancy in finishing drives here also. Utah fifth in the nation. I mean, they're elite when they get into scoring position. Nebraska's 115th on defense. And then if you go into deeper into those numbers, the closer you get to the goal line against Nebraska, their defense, their red zone scoring, they're 135th. They're second to last. I mean, they're pathetic. So instead of worrying about if TJ Latif is going to show up and try some backdoor cover, whatever it is that they're going to do, I'd rather have Utah team total over.
Yeah, I think I misspoke earlier. The Fano and Daly are going to be out, the edge rushers for Utah, who were their two best. I'm not sure if Emmett Johnson was in there, I would be a little bit more worried. Calabrese, what are you seeing here?
Yeah, I would love to pull the trigger on Utah, but losing Lomu and Fanu as the tackles, like schematically what they do in a lot of cases when they go empty, and sometimes they'll have a tight end tagged onto that, it really stretches defenses and it gives more room for Dampier to operate. It's just such a strength, and it was like everything that I know about their offense was built around that offensive line. So I want to see the first couple drives. I think Colin's point is well founded in that Nebraska is probably going to struggle to generate pressure anyway, just because they weren't able to. And even if it is, second stringers as bookends, I just need to see it for a drive or two. I'm gonna have to pay a tax. If I'm on the, delayed getting on the Utah train here, it's probably obviously going to inflate live. But I just want to make sure that they can still have the same identity that they did, that was so reliable and giving just enough room for Ficklin or for Dampier to operate with their legs. I need to see that first before I get involved.
All right, finally, let's move on to the first college football playoff quarterfinal at the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic, 7:30 Eastern, New Year's Eve on ESPN between Miami and Ohio State. Some of you might be old enough to remember the classic national title between these two storied programs. As of right now, Ohio State's a 9.5-point favorite. Total is sitting at 42.5. This game will be played at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Finally, we don't have to talk about opt-outs and coaching changes, although Ryan Day is reportedly more involved in the offense per
Ooh.
reports. Colin, I know. So I revised my numbers. We talked about this on last podcast. I'm around 9. So
Okay.
for this game, I mean, with this total, and here's the thing. There's a big misconception out there, by the way, that Ohio State last year went really, really slow, load management, and then in the college football playoff, I see people say this all the time. They went like really fast. They didn't. They went really slow again in the college football playoff. They were just dominant throughout that run. This should be a lower scoring game, but it's indoors, a lot of athletes. This is a low total. Colin, I'm going to let you make your case for Miami and make all the Ohio State fans mad once again.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, I wrote this up for action. So I'll save a big bunch of beef of that for everybody to read once we get closer to the game. But I will point out what I think the biggest discrepancy is and the reason why Miami is going to cover this number. By the way, as you didn't hear in the last podcast, I make this game 5. I thought this number opening up around 11 was a joke. I had no problem taking 10.5. I'd have no problem taking 9. I'd take it at 7. And if it's a low scoring game, which it's indicating that it is, those points are worth even more. Let me just point out the biggest reason why I think you should back Miami here at any number above 7. This pass rush is going to absolutely dominate Ohio State's offensive line.
Yeah,
This
I'm
is
really
the
worried about the Ohio State right side of the offensive line in particular.
Yes, exactly. So the best pass rush in the nation belongs to Miami, and Ohio State is 31st in pass blocking. Well, let's put that into real life terms. Ohio State just took on Indiana, and Julian Sayin was pressured 12 times. 5 of those ended up as sacks. That's a 41% pressure to sack ratio. That is extremely high. You should not have a pressure to sack ratio over 20%. Julian Sayin's never seen anything like that before from what Indiana did to that Ohio State offensive line. By the way, Indiana, they're only 12th in pass rush. Miami's number 1. And it's not even Ruben Bain that's going to be the issue because Ruben Bain's going to go up against left tackle Austin Severfeld, and he ranks top 20 of all individual pass blockers, right? Of all PFF tackles out there, Ohio State's left tackle is top 20. Go to the other side, Philip Daniels, he's outside the top 100 in pass blocking. That ain't good because you're getting Akeem Mesidor, and that's the assignments you're going to get. And Julian Saint is going to be harassed the entire time. And if you think 12 pressures and 5 sacks from Indiana was a problem, wait till Miami starts coming down the pipe. It's going to be worse for Julian Saint. This number shouldn't be above 7. I make it 5. Not saying the Miami pulls off the upset because the offense is atrocious. That's in my write-up. Miami can't explode. I think Fletcher's the key, running the ball on the ground. If there is an upset, it's because Miami kept this really low scoring, similar to Texas A&M game. But I'm telling you, right tackle is a huge issue for Ohio State in this game.
Yeah, their right side of the offensive line worries me. Also maybe their special teams. But the other thing is, so Ohio State has extra time to prepare here, right? Miami had to go to Texas A&M. When I look at this, I mean, the Ohio State defense we know is elite, the best in the country. Carson Beck, I mean, what can you do? I mean, Ohio State basically has a weeks to just say, let's cover Malachi Tony. And Miami basically was showing all the different ways they want to get him the ball last week. I'm sure they're going to try to get on the ball a ton this week as well. But can anyone else step up for Miami? Now, maybe it's a big Fletcher game again on the ground, but they haven't been a great rushing team all year. I do have the same concerns for the Ohio State offensive line. I think that I'm going to and we'll have a same game parlay for this game coming up, sponsored by SlingTV. We'll also have we'll close out with our DK favorite parlay from all of the games that we covered today. I will have a version of Claire in there. I'm going to look at some Max Claire props because what I think is Miami, they're going to get pressure. I don't think Ohio State's going to have a ton of success on the ground. Miami's going to play a ton of too high, trying to prevent explosive plays with, against the best receiver tandem in college football. And I think that's going to open up some things for Claire underneath. So I think that he could get just a high target or a higher target share than the market might assume here. So I'm going to look there. I'm kind of close to on market. I don't blame you for taking the points with Miami, especially you're sticking with your conviction on what you make it. Calabrese, you like, even though we're indoors here, explosive athletes, you think the defenses will win out and you like the under here?
Yeah, my projection is actually at 39 for this game. So 42.5, I'm going to go under. Obviously, I love both of these defenses. We also get a big bump from the pace. Ohio State dead last, even slower than Army. But Miami isn't much faster. 29.8 seconds between plays. That's 129th in the country. And when you look at the Canes, the defense just got stronger as the season went on. They haven't allowed 20 points or more in regulation in 7 straight games. Ohio State's defense It's probably the best in the entire country. You can't create explosives. They tackle at an elite level. They disguise at an elite level. You're going to see them in their bag in a very similar way to the season opener against Arch, where there's so many sim pressures. They were rotating. They had hybrid coverage where, one side of the field's man, the other side zone. It's going to be very difficult for Carson Beck to figure out exactly what's going on a drive-by-drive basis. And when you look at it, if Miami drives the ball downfield, good luck scoring in the red zone. Ohio State defensively has one of the lowest red zone efficiency allowed rates in really the last 5 years in the entire country. And then in terms of scoring touchdowns there, 33% of opponent red zone trips have ended in the paint. So Ohio State just bows their neck when they get down there. And underporn is built on this. It's all built on 27-yard field goal attempts. And by the way, Miami's kicker is absolutely struggling. Between the ears, he's really in a bad place, going 1 for 4 on field goals in College Station. That almost cost them a trip to the quarterfinals here. So I like under on the full game. I also like under in the first quarter, which is sitting at 9.5. It's actually just about even money out there in the market. Ohio State's defense in the first quarter, first in the entire country, just gave up 1.3 points per 15 minutes of a game. Miami's defense, 6 nationally, 2.5 points per game. And offensively, both of these teams generally started slow. Ohio State, for being the #1 team in the country, basically the whole way, 57th in first quarter scoring, less than 6 points per game. Miami, 76th, even worse, 5.2. So the fact that this is 9.5, I think this is probably the best bet on the board. Go under in the first quarter.
Ryan Day and Mario battling to see who can mess this up late. Duck, well, Colin, I know that you mentioned this before. Miami's first half defense this year has been incredible. What are they allowing? How many points?
4.8 points in the first half. And I think to tag on, I also got this in the article, like Ryan Day taking over play calling from Heartline. I think the big issue was the fact that Ohio State was 31.8 seconds per play. I think Day feels like he can flip a switch and go back to Chip Kelly's whatever this passing up tempo offense was that showed up in the Rose Bowl last year. So I'm not sure that's going to work, but I think the attempt is to get as far away from this Brian Hartline slug as possible.
And Duck, along those lines, you are looking at the first half under.
Well, I am. Yeah, let's look at it. It seems like we saw the script for Miami being able to hang in there and keep the game close against A&M while leaning on their talented front seven to clean up the mess. And I do think that front seven is going to get home against Julian Sand. Again, we talked about it before the A&M Miami game about how Miami's first half defense showed up, the low point total. Well, look at Ohio State, 47 total points allowed in the first half of their games this season. We've got strength on strength here. Defenses are going to be the difference in the first half. And you look at the pace of play, Miami 129th and Ohio State dead last 136th in offensive operating tempo. How many total possessions are we going to see from each here? 3? I wonder. So you look at the Buckeyes, they've struggled on occasion with generating explosive plays, but we've seen those explosive plays come from Ohio State in the second halves of games after leaning on their opponents, wearing their opponents down in the first half with the run. I'm going to call for that trend to continue. I'm going to fully expect this one to be a slow burning grinder in the first half, a game where we really see the war in the trenches be the primary driver of success from each of these offenses here. Last thing I'll say, we have 2 elite Power 4 red zone defenses. Nothing easy inside the 20-yard line. Could be 14-7 at half, which still gets us to the window. Could be 9-3. Could be a field goal fest. These red zone defenses are elite, and it's going to be really, really tough to operate inside the 20. It could be 6-3 or 9-3. We've seen Ohio State on the fast track against Indiana really struggle. I think Ohio State will benefit from having gone through that Indiana nonsense that they went through. They didn't have to squeeze the ball hard in the fourth quarter at all this season. And going through that against Indiana, they didn't know what to do on third and short. They didn't know how to call the game with pressure situations right in their face in the fourth quarter. I think that could help Ohio State in the later stages here, but I want first half under. Absolutely. 21.5 at current. It's a play.
Yeah, I mean, I said that before. I said Ryan Day going into that Indiana game probably really wants that to be super close just for his team who hadn't had any of those experiences all year with a freshman quarterback. So I think that will benefit them as well.
The 22-yard field goal in the fourth quarter to tie the game and the kicker, it was such a pressure pressure kick, but an easy kick. And they just hadn't gone through that, hadn't been working the muscle memory late in the game. So that could help them late here.
Anyone want to call for the outright upset? Colin.
I can't take Mario an outright upside, but I mean, I think they have a shot.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think they have a shot too. But I'll say 24-17 Ohio State.
That front
Um,
seven is so nasty. They can get you out of rhythm and get you behind the chains and create that just like Indiana did with Ohio State. Give Sayan a little pressure, get him off his mark.
I think
Ooh,
the
it could
one
be
thing that bugs
trouble.
me, Duck, I think the one thing that is like sticking in my head is that since Colin Klein's name got dropped for the Kansas State job, the Texas A&M offense wasn't the same, and they became predictable. And Miami legit was a great defense in that game, but Texas A&M wasn't very creative and they didn't change on the fly. So we'll see if Ryan Day can change that. But I think Miami's got it, definitely has a shot. Better than some of these other teams that we'll talk about in the next podcast in the playoff.
yeah, my biggest concern for Miami is actually uh, Carson Beck against this defense.
Yeah,
And is he going to make too many mistakes? Because he definitely was not good enough against A&M to beat Ohio State.
agree.
And uh, the Ohio State defense is much better than A&M's defense. And you're not saying is not going to be spraying the ball all over like Marcel Reed. But Miami's defense definitely gives them a chance. Heatherman has done a tremendous job. And by the way, we didn't mention like getting Blay back. Keontae Scott was massive. Then you even had the freshman stepping up, but getting Scott back is so big for them. That guy just makes plays. So
And by the way, in case you haven't already, since we've said it on two other podcasts, neither of these teams are beating Georgia. You need a Georgia national title future in your portfolio at 6-1.
by the way, this Miami Ohio State game, it will be an exciting matchup. And the best way to not miss a second of it is with Sling TV. Maybe you found yourself at the in-laws on New Year's Eve and you're away from your normal home setup. Well, Sling TV has got you covered. With Sling TV, you can take full control with flexible package options of 1, 3, and 7-day passes for access to 30 plus live channels, which includes ESPN and TNT. So that covers you for all 11 of the college football playoff games and more. Sling TV will also be a great option for some huge upcoming NFL games as well. So, with Sling TV, let's put together a same game parlay in this Ohio State Miami game. I'll kick things off. I'm going to go with Max Clare anytime touchdown. Not a ton of markets open yet for Clare. If you want to wait and go like over receptions, that might be a better bet, but this is more of a long shot and what's out there. And I am going to target Clare in the prop market. Colin, think I know where you're going.
Oh yeah, Miami plus 9.5, just like we spoke about before. I think that defensive line is what gets it done.
Duck,
Yeah, similar sentiment. First half under, I really, really like. I think we'll see these defenses step up. First half under is more likely to hit as long as Breezy's play hits. Breezy, what's your play?
Yeah, let's go even more instant gratification. Under 9.5 in the first quarter. These two defenses together, less than 4 points allowed total in the first 15 minutes. I think both of these defensive coordinators are going to have some exotics and some things that are going to cause some double pumping from these quarterbacks, taking some sacks, getting behind the sticks, and punting.
all right, that pays out around 30-1 at DraftKings. So, with so many great games in the coming days, Sling TV is your solution to instant access to live TV starting as low as $4.99. There isn't a better time to acquaint yourself with 1, 3, and 7-day passes from Sling TV. Offer applies to Orange 1-day pass. Restrictions apply. And finally, before we get out of here, as we do on all of our bowl season previews, it's time for our DraftKings parlay. We'll each pick our favorite play from this episode and throw it in a parlay over on DraftKings. Colin, what do you got?
Yeah, let's go Tennessee, Illinois on the over. Neither of these defenses are capable of stopping what the others do on defense. Plus, there's some havoc that's going to be involved that could get some easy field position here. Um, Over all the way.
Duck?
We're going to lay it with Utah. I think the run game is going to be too much for Nebraska, and I think Utah's defense will be able to pin down Nebraska, who's likely on a third string quarterback without Emmett Johnson. Too many pieces missing for Nebraska. Utah rolls.
Calabrese?
Give me the points with the Hawkeyes. Every time they punched up this season against top 20 competition, it was close games. They finished 3-0-1 against the spread in those matchups, and they got the Joe Moore award-winning offensive line paving the way. They're going to fight through this Vanderbilt defense, keep it close, maybe win outright, but certainly you want to take the 4.5.
And I'm going to go with Michigan. Give me the points here with all of the Texas defensive opt-outs. I'm trusting Biff. Not a Sherrone Moore guy, not a Chip Lindsey guy. There might be a couple more Michigan opt-outs, but these Texas defensive losses are major. I think Michigan keeps this within one score. So we got Tennessee, Illinois over, Utah laying the points, Iowa plus the points, and Michigan plus the points. That's plus 1235 on DraftKings. We'll drop a link in the podcast and YouTube description. We'll also tweet it out. Go use that link to instantly add that bet if you want to follow along to your bet slip at DraftKings, and let's bring it home. The crown is yours. So we'll be back. BBOC Live, by the way, live show, Saturday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern. We'll go over some updated news and our thoughts on the games for Saturday and the college football playoff. We'll also have part 5 of our bowl season preview, which we'll record on Monday night. That'll cover the next group of bowls and the 3 other college football playoff quarterfinal games. And if you want to tail any of the bets we discussed today, look for the quick slip link in the video and podcast description or visit actionnetwork.com/bet now. Thank you to Calabrese, Collin, and Duck for joining me. Thanks to our producer, David, on the back end. Most importantly, thanks to all of you for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe, unsubscribe, tell a friend, tell an enemy. Leave a 5-star review if you get a chance. Thanks again for tuning in. Let's keep it rolling. We'll catch you all early next week and on the live show on Saturday. Cheers.